Think your life is hard? Try waking up in medieval Europe. No electricity. No Wi-Fi. No modern medicine. Just a bucket under your bed and pain in places you didn't even know existed. You wouldn't last a single day. We've gone soft made fragile by modern comforts. Air conditioning, clean water, food delivery. But in the Middle Ages, survival was a full-time job. Start with food. You're imagining turkey legs, fire-roasted feasts? Forget it. Most people lived on pottage, a sad gray stew made from whatever scraps they could boil. It simmered for days, hiding more dirt than nutrition. Bread? Sure, but not the soft loaves, you know? It was hard, dark, and often full of groundstone from worn-out mills. Every bite came with a side of dental damage. Worse, much of the bread was infected with ergata fungus that caused hallucinations and burning sensations. Some historians even think mass poisoning sparked witch hunts. People thought their neighbors were cursed when really their baker just needed to clean his flour. Meat was rare, often spoiled. There was no refrigeration. Spices covered up rot, if you could afford them. Most people just ate and prayed. Even drinking water wasn't safe. Rivers were toilets. Wells were breeding grounds. Instead, everyone, including children, drank ale. Not strong, just safer. The average peasant drank 8 pints a day. Kids as young as 5 were downing beer with breakfast. Not because it was fun, because it was life or death. Fish helped, but only near coasts. Inland, fish was dried or salted to the point of nausea. The smell of medieval food would drive any modern stomach straight into panic. And speaking of stomachs, bathrooms. Forget privacy. Forget plumbing. You had a chamber pot under the bed. When it filled, toss it out the window literally. Shouting Garda Lo was your only warning. Look out for the water, but it wasn't water. In castles, there were garter ropes. Holes in stone seats, waste dropping 70 feet down the wall. In cities, open sewers ran through the streets. Gong farmers, the medieval poop collectors, worked only at night, reeking so badly they were banned from public spaces. And yet they earned 4 times the average wage, because no one else would dare. Toilet paper, leaves, moss, hands. Rich people might use wool. Hygiene was a fantasy. People bathed only a few times a year. Some believed bathing opened your pores and let disease in. So they went months, yes, months without touching water. Now, imagine working 16-hour days in the sun. No soap, no deodorant, no showers. Peasants burned over 4,000 calories a day just staying alive. Farming wasn't a lifestyle, it was survival. Wake up at dawn, work until dusk, collapse. Repeat until death. Don't want to farm? Fine. You can be a blacksmith inhaling smoke, a tanner working with urine and animal guts, or a link boy child paid to carry a torch for the rich. Want a trade? Start apprenticing at 7. Work 6 days a week for 14 years before you can earn enough to maybe not starve. Wages were pitiful. 1 or 2 pennies a day? Enough to buy a couple loaves of hard bread. Minimum wage wasn't a policy. It was survival math. The minimum needed to not die before your shift ends. Disease. Everywhere. Medical knowledge. A bad joke. Got a fever? Time for bloodletting. They'd cut open your veins to balance your humors, or slap leeches on your skin, 70 of them at a time. Mercury was a common prescription, not because it worked, but because it killed fast enough to be called a cure. The average life expectancy? About 30 to 40 years. Nearly a third of children died before age 5. And if you lived past that, your teeth didn't. With no brushes, no paste, and a steady diet of stone-filled bread, your mouth became a torture chamber. Tooth decay was normal. Extraction? Done with pliers. No anesthetic. You screamed. Everyone heard. And yet medicine was the least of your worries. Justice in the Middle Ages was brutality wrapped in ritual. Laws changed from town to town. You could be executed for stealing a loaf of bread or cutting down a tree in the king's forest. Trials? No lawyers. no defense. Just trials by ordeal. Carry a red-hot iron bar 9 feet. If your burns healed in 3 days, you're innocent. Sink in water, you're innocent. Float, guilty. Executed. Logic? None. Justice wasn't blind. It was cruel, random, and public. Hangings were a community event. People brought food like it was a fair. Drawing and quartering, the worst of it, was reserved for traitors. Dragged through the streets, hanged half to death, disemboweled, then chopped to pieces. If you weren't rich, you weren't safe. Nobles could pay off their crimes with blood money, or hire champions to fight for them in trial by combat. The poor had no such luck. If accused, they were presumed guilty. Jail wasn't for long-term sentencing. It was a filthy hole to rot in until punishment came. Torture expected. Confess or suffer. Then suffer anyway. Even war was a nightmare. Forget heroic knights in shining armor. Most soldiers wore padded rags. Weapons were farm tools turned deadly. Battles like Toten killed 28,000 in a single day, 1% of England's male population. Infection claimed more than swords. Most soldiers died not from blades, but from pus-filled wounds left untreated. And when armies marched, they didn't just fight, they stole, burned, raped, and destroyed. Your home? Gone. Your food? Taken. Your children? Not spared. Sieges lasted months. Inside, people starved. They ate rats, then cats, then each other. Cities stank. Rivers choked with filth. Garbage was dumped in streets. Butchers bled animals outside their shops. People walked through rot with shoes made of thin leather. To cope with the smell, they carried pouches of herbs under their noses. The medieval version of Febreze. Everyone lived together in one room. Whole families slept side by side. Privacy didn't exist. Beds were shared. Servants lived in the same room, even during private moments. Entertainment, public executions, bear baiting, gossip. That's it. No screens. No music on demand. Just rot, sweat, and superstition. They believed in demons, witches, and eclipses as signs of the end. Knowledge was myth. Fear ruled. News traveled slower than a horse. If something happened 20 miles away, you might hear about it next month. If it happened across the sea, you may never hear it at all. So next time you complain about slow internet or traffic or not enough oat milk in your coffee, remember this. If you were born just a few centuries earlier, your day would begin in a lice-infested bed filled with the scent of mold and end hauling buckets of human waste to a pile behind your house. The Middle Ages weren't magical. They were misery dressed in rags. You wouldn't last a day.